Hello viewers, hope you're all doing good. Welcome to this video. My name is Nawaz and you're watching NXZ, the Linux Guy channel. Right, so this video it's all about launching your first EC2 instance. I know it's simple, I know many of you have done that in the past, but I just started the series, so I thought let's start off with the basics so it will be helpful for me and helpful for you as well, right? So I have created this video on creating your free tier account, creating an admin account for AWS, creating billing alert, installing AWS CLI, and this video will say launching your EC2 instance. So without further ado, go to EC2, which is basically Elastic Cloud Computing, right? So here we are to our EC2 dashboard. Here you can see 0 running instances, 0 volumes, 0 key pairs, 0, 0, 0, 0, except this one security group, right? So without going any further, I want to tell you something that you have created your account, right? So whenever you create your account will have a default VPC because you have to place your resources somewhere in the VPC, right? So Amazon has created a default VPC for you, and Amazon have also created public subnets for each availability zone and also for each region as well. They have attached the internet gateway. There's also something called internet gateway. They have attached the internet gateway to the VPC so it can communicate to the public internet, right? So this VPC and subnet and all that stuff, we will talk about that in my future videos. For now, let's understand that your account comes with a default VPC, and here you can see a default security group, right? So security group, let's see what inside it. So security group or SG, this is nothing but your firewall. Think of it as a firewall, right? So you can attach your security group to an EC2 instance, or you can attach multiple SG to your EC2 instance. Also you can tell which machines can connect and on which port number, etc, etc. So basically SG is nothing but your firewall, right? So let's say inbound, type all traffic, all, and the source is this, which is basically this SG. So it's currently saying that any machine or any host which is inside this SG or this same SG will be able to communicate with each other, right? So this is just saying that outbound, all traffic, it can access the internet, destination is wide open as you can see here, cool. So when we will launch our instance, we won't be using this default SG. We will create our own SG, right? So for example, when we will launch our instance, we have to access that instance via SSH, right? So we have to open port 22 for that. So we will create the SG for that, and we will see that in a bit. So let's go ahead and launch the instance, but before launching the instance, I want you to keep these six things in mind before launching the EC2 instance, right? So before launching the instance, you need to think about the VPC that you need to launch that instance into, the subnet that you want to deploy it into, the availability zone, the SG for that instance that you want to use in that instance, if you want a public IP or not, and obviously an SSH key pair, right? So these are the six things you have to keep in mind: your VPC, subnet, availability zone, SG, public IP, or you don't want a public IP, and the key pair, right? So let's go ahead and launch the instance. Before that, I will create the key pair. You can do this in the later part, but I want to do it now. So let's do it. Key pair name, first key pair. Let's say April 2020. Create. Nice. So the key pair is created. So as you can see, when I click create, it has downloaded this private key. This is .pem file, which is nothing but your private key. So when AWS will launch your instance, it will place your public key inside the instance, and it will not store any private key. So this is your last chance of storing your private key. If you lose this, you won't be able to access your instance, right? In my future videos, maybe I will create a separate video on how you can access Maybe you want to use a different private key, or maybe you want to use a different set of key pair. So we will see that in my future videos. Let's hope. Let's go and launch instances. 6 things in mind. 1 thing is done. Launch instances. So the first screen, it will say something. We will see something like this. It will show us the AMIs. AMI is nothing but the Amazon machine image, right? This is nothing but an image. These are the images available. Let me click here, free tier only. So I will say which images come under free tier. So we have lots of images: Amazon Linux 2, Amazon Linux, RHEL 8, SUSE Linux, Ubuntu Server 18, Ubuntu 16, and many more. My AMIs. So this is nothing but your, for example, let's say you have configured a server. So you can take a snapshot and create an image of that server, and that will be your AMI, right? So that will be the AMI of your instance. Community AMI. So these are the readily available AMIs of different distributions. Let's say we have Debian, we have Fedora, we have Gentoo Linux, we have OpenSUSE, and we have many others. So let's go to quick start. Let's quickly launch an image. I will use this image. It has AWS CLI tools, Python, Ruby, Perl already installed. Cool. The repositories include our Docker, PHP, MySQL, and PostgreSQL. Nice. So if you want to use Docker or PHP or MySQL in your environment, you can use this image. This is very cool. The root device type is EBS. So the EBS is nothing but your elastic block store. Think of it like an SSD, right? The storage. So select this image. The next screen, we say choose instance type. So I'm going with this T2 Micro, which comes under free tier. So we have 1 CPU and 1 memory. If you want, if you have money, or maybe you are working for the organization, you may choose according to your need, maybe T3 large, maybe MD5 2 into large, which has 8 CPU and 32 gigs of RAM. But for this purpose, I'm going to go with this because I don't want any surprise builds in my account. Next, so we have here configure instance, number of instances. Maybe you want to launch 10 servers, so you can launch 10 here. I will say 1. Network, I was talking about this. Here you can see you have a default VPC available to you. Select this subnet. So subnet, I have 6 subnet available to me. So if you see here, North Virginia, right? So I have this region selected. The code is US East 1. So in US East 1 region, I have where is that? Okay, subnet. I have 6 different availability zone available to me. Okay, so this, as you can see, US East 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, 1F. This is just the AWS way of naming convention, the subnets and so on. So I will go with no preference. It will automatically choose the subnet for us. But if you want to deploy it in a particular subnet, let's say you want to deploy that into 1B or 1E, you can select that. But I will go with no preference. Auto assign public IP. So this was the option I was talking about. If you want to give an IP, public IP, you can give it, use this setting, or you can disable it and it won't give the public IP. You will only have the private IP, right? So I will go with this option, which is by default enabled, right? So to understand this, let us think of a normal use case scenario. Let's say we have databases and we have web servers, right? So in a VPC, we have a private subnet and we have a public subnet. So we will place all our databases in our private VPC or private subnet, sorry, and we will place all our web servers in the public subnet. We have placed the databases in private subnet because we don't want it to be accessible to the public, and for obvious reasons we have placed that in the private subnet, and we have placed the web servers in our public subnet, which is exposed to the internet, to the public, right? So this would be a normal use case scenario. Nothing fancy. IAM role, enable termination protection. So this is a nice little option here for accidental termination. If you tick this option, you won't be able to terminate your instance. You have to go into the settings and disable this option, then you will be able to terminate this option, terminate the instance, sorry. So nice little protection here. I will uncheck this, I don't want this. Enable monitoring, so you will have detailed monitoring for you. There are some basic monitorings available, we won't go with this. It will charge you extra, so if you want that you can take. Tenancy, shared and dedicated, we will go by shared and nothing fancy. Advanced details, we won't touch this in this video. This will be for one of my future videos. We will use this in future frequently. This is basically your bootstrap script which you want to be executed while your server or your instance is being deployed, right? So we will see that in future. I won't touch this for now, so let's just review it once more. Instance 1, this VPC, cool. Public IP is assigned, cool, nothing. Next. So this is the thing I was talking about. Storage, this is your EBS, which is Elastic Block Store, which is an SSD. 8 gigs of storage is assigned, which comes under your free tier. If you have let's say 15 gigs, it may cost you extra, so go by default. Delete on termination is ticked by default, which means that whenever you terminate your instance, this volume will be automatically terminated as well. So you won't be able to save this volume. If you have let's say for any purpose, or if you have any important data that you want to retain, then you have to uncheck this option and you will be able to retain this volume, and you have to manually delete it if you want it, right? So I will check this option for this demonstration. Next, add tags. You can add any tag you like. Let's say name. We can say, let's say tier is web, right? Web tier. Next, security group, right? So here you can say there is the default security group which we has. Sorry. So I won't suggest you to go with this default security group. I will say just leave this SG alone. Go ahead and create a new SG, right? So you can give this name, any name you like, any description you like. So SSH, you can also select anything you like. We have to give it SSH. Protocol is TCP, port is 22, and the source, it is wide open to the public, although they don't have your SSH key pair, but it's still wide open to the public and you don't want that, right? So source will be my IP, and it will automatically populate it with my public IP. Description, you can give the description, review and launch, and launch. So when I click this, here you can see it's asking me to choose an existing key pair, or you can also create a new key pair here, but I've already created, so I will choose this. This is my key pair, and a nice little acknowledgement of saying that I have the key, and without it I won't be able to log in. So I acknowledge I have the key, launch instances. Cool. So we have to give it a couple minutes to be deployed, so we will wait. Here you can see the instance is being launched. This is the instance ID. You can also see it here. Instance ID, instance state is pending, type is T2 micro, private DNS, public DNS. Also we are private DNS and private IP. Also we have public DNS and public IP as well. Cool. We also have a VPC ID here, which is our default VPC, subnet ID for this availability zone, the network interface, and the security group which we are using, the availability zone, and many more information you have here. Next is status checks. It's currently initializing. We have to give it a couple more minutes until it's completely launched. Let's go to monitoring. I will make it more larger so you can see. Okay, monitoring. Here you can see we have 4 and 12 and 14, right? So we have by default for free 14 metric available to us, monitoring metrics that is available to us for free. If you want any detailed monitoring, you can go ahead and click this link, and it will cost you some charges, but for the production you want to do, it's always a good idea. So here you can see CPU utilization, network in, network out, and many more metric. You can also create an alarm here. It's cool, right? So for example, let's say if your CPU utilization goes above 80%, so you can create an alarm for that. Similar to the billing alert which we created, you create a topic, you subscribe to that topic. Similar way, you create the alarm here, and you can also point this alarm to your dashboard, your monitoring dashboard. Maybe you're using a CheckMK, maybe you're using a Grafana dashboard, right? If you are familiar with it, so it will be very useful for you for monitoring purposes. Knock will understand. And tags, this is just a tag, nothing fancy. So I will catch you once this instance is launched successfully. Alright, so instance has been launched successfully. Let's go to status check, and let's say here you can say system reachability check passed and instance reachability check passed. So now we will try and log into our instance. For that, let me open up my terminal. I will zoom in so you guys can see. Cool. So I have this private key available to me. So I will do let me do sudo chmod 400 to home nxa, and this is my sudo account. So I'm doing this by this account. So if I do again su nxa, so here you can see the mode is changed and it is only readable by nxa, right? Because this is very critical, right? You don't want to give access to your instance to anyone, right? So let's try and log into our instance. We will use ssh -i flag and the name of the private key. And because we are using the Amazon Linux image, so the default user that we will be logged in by is EC2 user. @ the public IP. The public IP is inside description. Here you can see the public IP is this. Copy it, paste it here, enter. Yes, I acknowledge. Cool. So I have logged into my EC2 instance. If I want to log into my root account, I can do sudo sudash, and I have logged into my root account. ID is 0. Cool. So let's check the RAM free minus M or free minus H for more specific. Here you can see 930 MB, which is basically 1 gig of RAM. DF minus H. Here you can see slash is 1.2 GB. Available is this, so 8 gigs of RAM. Basically total is 8 gigs available to us. Cool. So I will log out from here and I will clean up every resources, because obviously I don't want any surprise bill in my account. I don't know about you, but I don't want any surprise bill, right? So log out from here as well. So I've shown you how to access your instance. So I will go ahead and terminate this instance. And because I have selected that delete on termination on the volume, so it will automatically delete the volume as well. We will confirm it by after terminating this. So yes, terminate, and we will wait till this instance is being terminated. Here you can say I have the volume present, right? Cool. So here you can see the volume is present, right? It's being used by our instance. So let's see what happens after the termination of this instance. We will also see we have created the security group, right? So we have this one new extra security group. So we will delete it by manual way, because obviously it won't be deleted. And if I go to my dashboard, here you can see I have one Keypair, 2 SGs and 0 volume. So maybe our instance has been terminated, right? If I remove this option, here you can say all the instances, my previous instances is okay. So the instance has been terminated. If I go to volume here, you can say 0 volumes, because we have clicked on that delete on termination. If you want to retain, don't click on that button. Instead, untick that and delete it manually if you require. Let's go to security group. and we will delete the security group. Action, delete security group, delete. And if I go to my dashboard again, we have one Keypair left, so I'll go to these Keypairs, select this Keypair, delete, yes, dashboard again, and everything is back to the normal state where we started. Cool, so I have cleaned up my resources. So that's it for this video, guys. In my next video, whatever we have done here, whatever steps we have done here, we will do that in my next video, do via CLI. So that will be very much interesting. I am very much excited for that video. And that's it for this video, guys. I hope you like this video. If you did, make sure you like it and share it with your friends, and please subscribe to this channel. See you guys in my next video. Take care. Bye bye.